You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, MoveWell University, the Black Diamond Club, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Element Mattresses, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, Jim Chester here, Chiro Hustle live streaming. This is a sponsorship edition. I have Dr. Daniel Bay over there, not Bay Area, but he is in Chicago area, and I am in Lakewood area, which is near Denver, which is on the other side of the mountains, not where I live, where everybody lives. So here we have it. That score is settled. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hey, Jim, good to see you. Before you get going, happy birthday, brother, man.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a special day.
Yeah, I just turned 40, if you guys didn't know. That's a big day. It's like those milestones, you know?
Totally.
It's like catching 1,000 passes or hitting 100 RBIs in a season or something, I guess.
Yeah, man. It's definitely a milestone. You hit it.
501 interviews now.
And you hit it sprinting. You ran through the bag.
So, pattern interrupt, early close. Dan has a, what is it, masterclass?
Yeah, masterclass November 2nd and 3rd. It is the last one of the year, folks. So we are almost at the point where we're closing registration. Believe it or not, we do have a handful of seats left. Check us out. Love to have you.
Yeah, and I think hustle and closing go together, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's one and the same if you ask me.
And you've been closing for how long now?
I guess technically I've been closing since I was born.
Bam!
Yeah, and for those of you who don't understand that, it's human nature to want to close. It's human nature to want to express what you want and what you can give others in return, and that's what closing is. And I think we're going to start the pot here today, Jim, because one of the things that bothers me in this industry, in this profession,
I'm not going to look.
Yes, are all the effing people who say you don't have to sell. You don't have to be a salesman. That chiropractic is not about selling and sales. And if I hear that one more time, I'm literally going to lose my shit. And you guys know that I pretty even keeled for the most part. But when I hear shit like that, it boils me. And the reason why it boils me, sorry, Jim, I'm just sharing this with my crew here. The reason it boils me is because when we don't embrace the very thing that is the secret to our industry and our profession, reaching the masses, which we know needs to happen, it makes people not embrace sales, which is what a requirement that we need to know as an industry. And it just makes people not want to deal with it and not want to embrace it and not want to learn it. It's kind of like someone saying, you know what, if you're a dentist, you want to skip the part about prepping the patient before you drill. It's like an integral part of it. And it just boils my blood, man. And there's a couple of dudes out there, and I know they mean well. And I tell you something, I feel like our industry is being manipulated and taken advantage of, because I'll say this, is when you hear someone say, oh, you're a chiropractor, chiropractor shouldn't sell. That makes you want to go to them because you innately feel like you don't need to sell because you don't understand what it is. And I feel like those people are being exploited, you know? Because really what you get when you get in behind the scenes of those people who say that you shouldn't sell is you're learning how to sell under the guise of this is not sales. But in actuality, it is. And these contradictions just boil my blood. You know, it is what it is. If it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. And I'm kind of sick and tired of it.
Well, they've sold to themselves that it's okay to fail. It's okay for them to be mediocre. And I think that that's one of the things that people have to really dive into, is to know that if they are not there hustling and closing and selling, then they've okayed it to themselves to be mediocre, because that's what they've agreed to themselves to do.
You know what? That is true, along with so many other reasons. And when we talk about sales, and I get it though, sales does get a bad rap. But what I really want to, there's one thing that I can infuse on my profession that I love so dearly, and I'm invested in the success of our profession, is one thing, is that the old school idea that sales is about browbeating and pressure tactics and making people do and buy things that they don't want or legitimately can't afford. That stigma about sales is so effing antiquated and so old school, and we got to leave that back in the 70s and 80s, because that's not what sales is. Okay, sales is a series of mini commitments for someone to say yes to something they want and need and desire. And as a salesperson, your job is to facilitate that right decision, not to force them into it. Sales is leading, it's leadership, and it's so, Jim, I hate the cliches, but we all can understand that, everyone's selling something. And what I mean by that, no, everyone is not selling something because they want to get something out of somebody at their expense. That's not what sales is. I mean, I'm selling things to my kids all the time, every day. What am I selling them? I'm selling them a way to do things so that they ultimately can become better people. We're selling them an ideology that means that if you do this, this means this. We selling on him on the idea that doing his homework before it's due 2 minutes before is a way for a better way of life. Like, these are the things that we sell on a daily basis. And I don't know why that's bad. Okay, maybe, we could cover it up with the word like convert. Or I don't know, whatever word, and that's the thing with chiropractors, man. Man, I'm on a rant today, Jim. I guess I'm in a fucking mood.
Let's let it rip, bro.
Right, because we're so worried about renaming things to make it more palatable. It's just like, come on, folks. Sales is sales, and that's just what it is. Sales is about learning the proper way and the languaging and the content and the context to make something that is digestible to people that you're talking to. It's actually the opposite of manipulative. It is so empathetic to speak at the level of who you're speaking to. Okay, Jim, you get this because you recently were in Alaska and you nailed down probably $50,000 to $60,000 of business for the docs that you were screening for. I'm pretty sure when you were talking to these people that were walking by at a state fair, you did it in a way that was in the perspective of the person walking by, not from the perspective of Jim Chester. That's just one example, folks. When your parents talked to you, when you probably don't remember, when you were 14, 15 years old, and they were trying to teach you something, they were selling you this idea that this is a better way to go, period. Okay? And they did it from your perspective across the board, folks. And that's why it's so important that we stay away from these things that tell us, don't be a salesperson. You don't have to sell, because that's such bullshit. You do have to sell. You have to sell and push hard this thing called chiropractic, because you indeed know that this is the answer to most, if not all, of the problems in our communities right now. And you all know that that is an answer. It's a missing link. It's this thing that needs to be consumed, but for some reason they're not buying it, they're not understanding it, and they're not accepting it. And that is nobody's fault except for yours. Our inability to make this thing called chiropractic in its glory consumable to the individual person that you have the honor and the privilege to speak with. And we're wasting these opportunities, and everyone's losing. So I feel very, very passionate about this, because chiropractors will go through their whole career and never embrace this thing called sales and never learn it, and there's volumes of books and I ain't the only one, but it just boggles my mind, and it makes me mad. And this is what gets me up and gets fired me up in the morning to do what I do, because I got to rebrand this thing called sales for our profession. Okay. That's what I got to do.
And one of the things you said there was about delivering and how we package it. And I think that that's one of the things is the marketplace is ready. We just need to deliver it, and we need to package it to a way that it's consumable and that people can understand it, because the marketplace is there. It's like going to like an old like market, like say in like Egypt or India, where there's like herbs and spices everywhere, and you're trying to fix something and make like a dish that you're going to feed your family. Well, I look at that as the same way as how we look at what's available in the marketplace today. We have groups of people that have created recipes for us to go out there and to be able to create a future for ourselves instead of a meal for ourselves. And I think that understanding that there's the ingredients out there, you just have to know where to go and find them. Like when I say what I do, I go out there and harvest the community. I say, who's looking for a good chiropractor? Let me help you out. You know, whatever my pitch is, I know what to say to those people because I know the recipe for the XYZ of the clothes. And that's what you guys do. You teach the recipe for people, and then they make their own little cooking. They develop their own little cooking style off of your cookbook.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well put, man. That's just how it works. It's all about packaging and languaging and delivery method. Okay, because this message is the message, and the message is pure. The message is true. The message is right. And if people are not holding on to that message, it's the messenger. Sorry to break it to people. It just is what it is. And on our masterclass, we talk about all the poor ways we do this, and we lead off with that on day one. And Jim, it's funny. It's not funny. It's actually sad. Like we have people in the audience that are throwing up in the back of their mouths because they realize they've been doing it wrong for so long. And these are small tweaks, and these are not things that require you to totally be someone that you're not. You know, most of proper sales training right now, in especially our industry, Jim, it's about what not to say, not what to say. We have a concept in Close for Chiro called STFU. It stands for yes, shut the fuck up. so what actually happens is we talk ourselves out of the close because we don't know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times, what we like to talk about is how to reserve yourself from saying what you think you should say and timing it so that it's actually being said when it's supposed to be accepted. And there is a timing factor to all of this. And again, these are the concepts and the headspace that I wish all of my colleagues would get. And as you know, Jim, we have our Facebook Live shows, which is, thank you for saying, and I may be we may be tied for first. I don't know, Jim, but I like to say our show is one of the most watched shows in the profession. And I thank you all for tuning in for that. But at those shows is where we deliver those concepts, no strings attached, because there's certain things that is public domain that everyone should know. And we do those every 2 weeks. We have one tomorrow night called Shameful Selling, which is it's going to be an interesting show. Put it that way.
Yeah. I love what you do. That's why, we've built an alliance. And this was 2 years ago at Berkshire's when we first got a chance to meet each other. And you came up to me and you like put your hand on my shoulder, and we talked about what we were doing with our lives and where our trajectory was going, and what type of impact we were making at the points we were when we first met each other. And then we had a pre-interview chat talking about these amazing things that I'm bringing to the marketplace. And we just laughed a lot, but when it comes to like understanding what you have done and what you've created for the chiropractic marketplace, to me, it's a no-brainer for people to say, I want that. Because if you want more certainty, you want more money, and you want more deliverable focus on what you say and what you don't say, like you said, shut the fuck up. Like when people understand that there has to be some pauses in between and wait for somebody else to make the decision and to, interact with you, it's not just a one-sided conversation. Yeah. And in order for you to get somebody to actually dance with you, you have to teach them the steps.
Yeah, it's so funny, Jim, because we know how to do this in other aspects of our lives, except for when it comes to showing someone what the true beauty and power of chiropractic is, and they should want it. I mean, I know some of you are listening, you're probably married. I mean, you did that. You sold yourself to the person that ultimately made the lifelong decision to be with you for life. I mean, do you understand? That's like the ultimate close, if you want to think about it. And if we did it right, we understood that was right. Like, for example, like if the first day I met my wife, like, how did I get in? I mean, I made sure that I didn't talk about myself too much. I made sure I listened to her. I made sure that She was able to express herself more than I was able to express myself. I made sure I created a disparity, a vacuum phenomena for her to want to get to know me as opposed to her have to listen to all of my stuff. And I had a lot of shit going on, man. I mean, I was the shit. Okay. No.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, MoveWell University, the Black Diamond Club, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Element Mattresses, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle.
But I didn't throw that at her where she had to say no. It created that want. It created that curiosity. All the things that we want our patients to go through to make a right decision the right way is something we've all done, in all parts of our lives, except for when it comes to chiropractic. There's like this block. And so I always say, Jim, like at master classes, I ask them, did you learn anything new? Because it's a loaded question. And the answer is no. I didn't really learn anything new. These are all the things that I knew. Okay. I just didn't know how to put it together and adaptable to the setting and the environment of a new patient interaction. And it's so funny, Jim, because how much work do you do to secure new patients for your clients? I mean, you do a great job, and they've spent time, energy, and money in you to do that. So when a new patient comes in and you totally blow that interaction, that's a lot of waste. That's not only revenue waste, but it's also a waste of a life that you could have potentially impacted because you didn't know what you're doing. This is the stuff that drives me nuts. Just drives me up the wall. So much wasted talent out there, docs. There's some docs that are listening right now. If you are, I want you to listen to me just for a second. Just drop everything and just listen to me. This comes from the heart.
Quit texting.
Quit texting. Stop. Put everything down. So many of you are so incredibly talented, have hearts of gold, and you have so much to share the world, and they're just effing waiting for you. Okay? And they're just asking, they're just waiting, and all you got to do is show up. And what you don't want to do is do the work to figure out how to reach out and touch your marketplace the right way. And they're just waiting for you. And if you're out there and you realize you're sitting in your empty office, or you're in an office where you just know you're spinning your wheels and you're not making that. I have docs that want to go from $1 million to $2 million, from borderline closing their offices to $500,000 practices. And some of you are sitting in there and whatever, it's the same emotion. So you just feel like you're stuck, and you're saying to yourself, "Damn, I feel like my talents are wasted." I want you to know something. You're absolutely right. Your talents are absolutely being wasted because you don't know what you're doing on the first two interactions with your new patient. That is everything. So I want to let you know, your talents are being wasted, but it's about time you show up and say, "Hello, world, I'm here." And when that happens, man, things change, not just for yourselves, but for your community and your legacy, the things that you're going to leave this earth, your footprint on this earth, for generations to come and say, that Dr. Smith, this is what he did later in the next century. And that's really what I want for my profession.
It's about being serious about a couple things, and it's about taking yourself to a different level and making sure that you're communicating the right way with people. And one of the things I like to talk about, Dan, with people that never done a chiropractic marketing or screening event before, I ask them, how many of those classes did they give you in chiropractic school? And then for you and for people to pay attention now the same way, quit texting, quit interacting with other people and listen, is the big thing is how many classes do they give you in chiropractic school of how to sign people up for chiropractic care? Mm-hmm. So when you come and get a tandem of guys like Dan and me that have gone out there and harvested our communities and taught people what it is to receive chiropractic services and to schedule themselves for chiropractic visits so their lives can change, that's something you might want to pay attention to, because if you know how to get the people out of your community and bring them into your office, which I am a specialist at, And then if you know how to then convert them, that's one of those fancy words you used earlier, converting. If you can learn how to convert those people into chiropractic visits, then that's the second part. And they're not teaching this stuff at school.
Right. Hey, I want to just say something here. I don't think it's fair to blame the schools. I don't think it's all on the schools to show everyone the way on how to run a successful business. I do think it's the school's responsibility to acknowledge that that's what needs to be done. Okay, so if you're a school out there, okay, that is not acknowledging that the average practitioner in today's modern world needs to be somewhat business savvy. If we're not acknowledging that, then that is absolutely a travesty. But if you acknowledge it as a school and say, okay, guys, okay, we got to get through this stuff. We got to learn anatomy, phys, neurology. We got to do it. We got to learn about ecchymosis of the flanks or whatever. But we got to do this. This is my job. But as your school, I want to let you know and acknowledge that at some point, you all must understand that the business aspect of this is critical. And you need to acknowledge it, and you need to learn it to some degree at some point. So I think that's what we need to do on the educational front. I think it's too much to ask the schools to show everything that the average practitioner needs to know, and that's where we come in. We can help you with that, obviously, but we ain't the only game in town. Trust me. A lot of the stuff that I learned, Jim learned, a lot of the people in the space that's providing these types of services all learned from somewhere else or even self-taught, It doesn't mean you can't. So I'm telling you that not because I want you to come to me for this stuff or Jim to this stuff. Although we would love to have you. We're telling you that because we want to make sure you acknowledge that this thing called business is a requirement right now for our industry in today's marketplace. And it's sink or swim. Either you keep up with it and you succeed, or you don't and you struggle. There's no way for me to candy coat that. It's either one way or the other. And Jim, I think you would agree with that, right?
Yeah, one of the things I like to tell people is if you don't go out there and do the work, then there's somebody else that's going to graduate chiropractic school in the next 3 to 6 months. And they're going to go out and they're going to dominate your area, and they're going to become highly successful, and they're going to carry on with their lives the way that they're supposed to. And you're going to look at this other guy down the street and you're like, how did you do it?
Right.
Well, he went out there and hustled. He went out there and sold, or she, and they dominated their market now because they did the things that you weren't willing to do or willing to learn, and you didn't have the toolkit for it.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we can go all day about this, but that's the bottom line, folks. Other thing I want to talk about before we shut this down, Jim, is
I know we're coming up on our edge. Can I just do a pattern interrupt?
Yeah, go for it.
If you guys are finding value in this and you think that Dan and I have delivered the goods today, please give us some thumbs up, give us some hearts. If you guys are watching this on replay, #replay in the comments so we know that you were a part of our audience today. And if you love that what we do together, just give us a big thumbs up. And if you have questions, now it's time for me to STFU and on to Dan. But if you guys find value in this, share it. Just go ahead and hit that little share button, because I know that your audience out there and your friends need to know what we have discussed today. So at that point, passing the mic back to you, Dr. Dan.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Yeah, thanks for everyone for joining us live. I totally appreciate it. So the last thing I want to just put out there right now is that there is something called a planning fallacy. Frankly, we are really horrendous at planning. And in our industry, we're so drunk with instant gratification. And I just want to let everyone know, and I feel like, a parent talking to their kids about, instant gratification. There are certain things that actually give us instant gratification. But when it comes to effectively communicating the value of what you do and who you are, I want everyone to know that it is a continuum. It is a process. Closing is not a transaction. It's a process. Okay. It's a transformation, not a transaction. And the quicker we understand that, we'll stop doing this. We'll stop doing, okay, I said this, so I should get this. That's not really how it works. Mm-hmm. I remember a client called me and said, he's kind of a douche. Okay. I'll be honest. And he goes, so Dan, what's your close? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, what's your close? Brother, I don't know what you're talking about. He's on the phone. He's like, so what's your close, man? What's your close? I'm like, help me out here. What do you mean, what's my close? Because my close is everything. Step 0 to step infinity. No. What do you say at the end to get someone to buy? I'm like, oh, I see what you're saying.
You want
and
the
I'm
one
saying,
thing.
you knucklehead, that's not the close. That's just something that happens during the close.
Mm-hmm.
You asking someone to accept your fees and your recommendation is not the close, folks. That's just one part of it. The close happens in the beginning and it never stops. It's a continuum. This is the reason why my patients in my office, which by the way, I'm in full-time practice, that they're saying yes to me quickly because they've gotten used to saying yes throughout the whole entire process. It wasn't like I built everything up and then boom, here we go.
Make a big decision.
Nah, it doesn't work that way. It never works that way. Okay? It is a continuum. It is a process. And until we learn this process, not only in context, but in concept, we'll always be struggling trying to figure out why this didn't work. And in marketing, you get the same thing, right, Jim? I did this, Jim, but it didn't work. How about like Facebook marketing, SEO work, screening? Like, I did this and it didn't work. Nothing works like because you did it. It worked because you've been doing it. And that's the same true with sales training. It's just, everyone's looking for the magic bullet. And then there's that concept, that type of thinking is a cancer, not only in our industry, but in business in general. And big businesses, successful ones, do not really work that way. And one of the things that I encourage a lot of my colleagues to do is study other businesses and how they do things, like the ones that you admire and respect. Okay, whatever they may be. It may be a local business that does great work. It might be a brand like Starbucks or Target or whatever. If you study how they do things, one of the things that I've realized right off the bat is that there's no short-term anything. It's do, measure, tweak, do, measure, tweak. And for those of you who are looking for a sales process, I've done the do, tweak, do, tweak, do, tweak forever. I've done the hard part for you. All you got to do is show up and I'll show you how to do it. For example, we spend 8 hours teaching docs how to do an 8-minute consultation. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's no wasted space there. We did the hard work for you. Let us take you to the finish line, show you step by step what to do that yields you a 90% close rate at your fees without being chiseled. That's what we do. And it's gorgeous. You go back on Monday and you realize, holy crap, I'm no longer a wasted talent. I'm actually sharing it. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah, masterclass November 2nd and 3rd, Chicago, Illinois. You got me salivating, Dan, for like wanting to talk because one of my good friends asked me, Jim, how did you get so good at doing interviews with people? I said, you go do 300 of them and you'll get good too. Because I did the heavy lifting and I did the tweak, the study, the tweak, the watching. And now what we do is we have a great deliverable that people know, like, and trust and appreciate it because we built a foundation. And now other people, what they're doing? They're learning from us. They're asking me, how do you do what you do? And that's the thing that happens with repetition and time is it's the long play. It's the 5-year plan. It's the, where am I going to be in 90 days from now?
Right.
And that's the thing, I think, when people jump into this arena, that they just jump in and they think that they're going to start rolling out shows and that people are going to start watching them. And then nobody watches them. And they're like, nobody watched what I said or what I did. And then they get disgruntled. And I like that. I like it when people know their lane. And I like it when people don't go into my lane. I like it when they stay put and they know where their wheelhouse is. But I will tell you, if you do 300 interviews like this, you will get good and you will own a part of this market.
Yep. No doubt. Well said. It's just how it works. And you know what the great thing about you, Jim? What makes you a great interview is that you know how to STFU. That's important.
You can't talk over people, and you have to congratulate your guest, and you have to know, you have to have a high mental acuity and chiropractic IQ to host chiropractors that are at the top of their game. And I think that that's what so many people want to do. They want to hold my space, but they don't have the chiropractic IQ. And that comes from living in the profession, not outside, looking inside of the profession and wanting to be something that I've created.
Right. Yeah, we can go on all day about that.
I know, I love it. But, you know, expertise, when two experts come together, it's a beautiful thing. I really appreciate your time today, Dan. I know that our bandwidth went over. I know that we were going to stick to about 20 minutes, but I think we went about 35 minutes because I have 5 questions on my board here I didn't even ask you. So let's keep those in the hopper. And we'll make sure that we get onto a different conversation next time. But anybody out there that wants to know how to do more effective conversing and languaging and procedures, then reach out to Dr. Dan Bay with Close for Chiro so you can be the next closer in your marketplace.
Boom. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate all you do, brother.
closeforchiro.com. Put it in your brain and go to the masterclass. Will you put the link down in the comments for them too?
You will do. I'll do as soon as I get off. Thank you.
Awesome. Love you, brother. Thank you for supporting Chiro Hustle.
Great job. Thank you. See you guys.
See you, man.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.